So, throughout my life, I've met a lot of people that have stabbed me in the back in many, many ways, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. I'm sure you all know at least one person in your life that you thought was your friend or you thought you knew them, and they turn around and do the craziest thing you've ever seen and stab you in the back. This story time is about one of the most ridiculous things I have ever had happen. And to this day, whenever I tell this story to a friend or like a family member, it's just still unbelievable to me. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the story time. If you do, please leave a like on the video and let's jump into it. So, today's story time all takes place back in the year of 2015. Now at this point, I was still in high school, technically. I wasn't going as much as I should have, but I was going here and there. It was right before I dropped out. And I was just trying to get through my school stuff. I was trying to pass the year. I was definitely failing a lot of classes, so I was just trying to get there and try and do as much as I can to pass. And yeah, this all starts off like any other normal day. I woke up at 6 a.m. My bus would get to my house around 6:30. So yeah, I was just, rushing to get ready. I got ready pretty quick and got on the bus, went to school, got to school. And I'd say about the first half of the school day was pretty normal, nothing really out of the ordinary. But it was at lunchtime where this story time really starts off. So I went to the lunchroom, I got my lunch, I sat down at my table with my friends, and I had this one friend that sat at my table. We're just going to call him Jeremiah, okay? Jeremiah was a great friend of mine. I knew him for like 2.5 years at this point. We had been friends for, pretty long. We'd hang out at each other's houses all the time, like outside of school. We were like good friends. We'd play Xbox together. And Jeremiah was dating this girl. We'll call her Emily, okay? He'd been dating Emily for about a year at this point. And when Jeremiah gets to lunch on this day, he comes up to the table, he sits down next to me, and he goes, "Yo, what the fuck, dude?" And he seemed like angry about something. I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "Dude, I just heard from a homie that you were talking to Emily about me. Is that true?" I was like, "Bro, what? What are you talking about?" He's like, "Dude, don't bullshit me. I just heard from a friend that they saw you talking to Emily this morning about me and my relationship with her, saying that it was toxic or some shit." Now, before I continue, I just want to say something. There is some truth to this. I was talking to Emily that morning. I spoke to her at my locker for like 2 minutes, and I did mention a toxic relationship to her, but it wasn't about Emily and Jeremiah's relationship. She was asking me what happened with my ex-girlfriend, because I had just broken up with my girlfriend like a week prior, and I was telling her that we broke up because it was a toxic relationship. Told her that we were always arguing, that it was just unhealthy, and we couldn't get along, so we broke up. That's all I told her. Emily was also my friend, Jeremiah and Emily. Like, I'd known Emily before Jeremiah and her started dating, so it wasn't unusual for me and Emily to talk sometimes as friends. So I told Jeremiah this. I was like, "Dude, yeah, I was talking to her this morning, and I told her that my relationship with my ex was toxic, and that's why we broke up. I wasn't talking about your relationship with her, dude. Like, whoever walked by and, heard a glimpse of our conversation, clearly they misunderstood and told you the wrong thing, because we were not talking about your guys' relationship." And this dude doesn't believe me. Jeremiah's like, "Bro, don't fucking lie to me. This dude that told me would have no reason to lie about this, and he told me he was sure that that's what you were talking about." And I was like, "Bro, who was it? Who is it that told you that I was talking shit behind your back? I want to know who's lying right now." And he wouldn't tell me. He's like, "Bro, I'm not snitching on him, but he's a good friend, you know him too," and he wouldn't lie. I'm like, "Yeah, maybe he wouldn't lie on purpose, but he's definitely lying by accident because he misunderstood what I was telling Emily." And then I was like, "Bro, go get her. Seriously, go get Emily, bring her over to our table, and she'll tell you what we were talking about this morning, and then we can put this to rest right now." And he goes, "Okay." So he gets up, he goes and grabs his girlfriend, he brings Emily over, she sits down at the table, and Jeremiah's like, "Emily, someone told me this morning that Austin was telling you that we have a toxic relationship. Is that true?" And Emily's like, "No, we were talking about Austin's relationship." And I gave Jeremiah that look of "I told you so, motherfucker." And he still didn't believe me. He didn't believe his own girlfriend either. He's like, "No, you guys are lying to me right now. Just tell the truth." And we're like, "Bro, we're not lying." And he wouldn't listen, dude. He would not believe us at all. And finally, he just stands up, grabs his backpack, and he goes, "Fuck both of you. I'm done." And he walks away, and Emily follows him. And the whole next 2 days, bro, he would not talk to me. He stopped sitting at my lunch table. He wouldn't reply to my messages. The dude just cut me off from being his friend. And I was like, damn, that really sucks. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't want to believe me, he doesn't want to believe me. There's not much I can do about it. His own girlfriend literally backed my story up and he still wouldn't believe us. So yeah, there wasn't really much we could do about it. I will say Emily and him were still dating. The next day I saw them holding hands. So they must have talked it out. And I don't know what she told him, but they must have been fine now. I don't know. But he wouldn't talk to me. Every time I saw him in the hallway, he wouldn't look at me, stop sitting at my table, stop messaging me. He was not my friend anymore, right? So yeah, 2 days go by. He ain't talking to me. Him and Emily seem like they're on good terms, and I just want this to be over with. I want to have my friend back, right? So I decide during lunchtime to approach him. I walked up to his table, the new table he was sitting at with some other people, and I was like, yo, can I talk to you, Jeremiah? And he's like, sure. And we both walk over to like the side of the cafeteria where like no one's at, and I'm like, yo, this is stupid. Like, you agree, right? Like, we are not about to stop being friends after 2.5 years over some shit that you heard that's essentially a rumor. He's like, I don't know, bro. Like, I know you and Emily have the same story, but like, I still don't trust it. I feel like that dude that told me that wouldn't lie to me. And I was like, bro, who told you that I was talking shit behind your back? Like, who told you? I just want to know. And he still wouldn't tell me. He's like, nah, man, I'm not going to snitch on him. I'm like, all right, bro, well, like, can you at least just fucking, like, put it behind us? Like, I'm telling you the truth. I wasn't talking bad about you behind your back. Neither was Emily. We were talking about my relationship. Like, it wasn't about you, dude. And he's like, yeah, I know you both have said that already, but, like, I don't know. I'm trying to look past it. I told her I'd try and look past it. We could keep dating, but I'm having a really hard time. I'm like, all right, well, is there something I can do to, like, help you believe us? Because, like, I don't want you breaking up with your girl and us to stop being friends over a rumor. And he's like, nah, there's nothing. And I was like, all right, man, well, when you feel like you can get over this and believe us and like trust us, let me know. And we both just went our separate ways after that. And fast forward next week, right? So the next school week on Monday, I walk into school and Emily's at my locker and she's crying. And I was like, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? And she's like, Jeremiah broke up with me. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, dude. Why? And she's like, because he still doesn't trust us. He thinks that we're lying to him and talking about him behind his back. I think he thinks that something's going on between us. And I was like, nah, fuck this. Like, we're going to put this to rest right now. So me and her walked over to Jeremiah's locker and waited for him. And when he came into school, he saw us both standing there. And he's like, what's up? And I was like, Jeremiah, what the fuck, dude? Like, there is nothing going on between me and Emily. I would never disrespect one of my best friends' relationships. That is just not me. You know that, bro. And 2, Emily is literally just a friend of mine. You know this too. Like, come on. And he's like, yeah, I know, all right? I know, but I have trust issues and I can't handle it anymore. So I feel like it's just better for everybody if we just all stop talking. And we tried to convince him to like give it a second thought and not like just cut everybody off. But he didn't want to listen. Honestly, it kind of sounded like he believed us, but he just like couldn't fully believe us. Do you know what I mean? Like, it seemed like he knew we were telling the truth, but his trust issues were so bad that he just couldn't fully look past it and like he couldn't take it. So yeah, he broke up with his girl and didn't want to be friends with me. Now after that really awkward conversation, we all kind of went our separate ways. Emily went to first period, I went to first period, and so did Jeremiah. And the whole rest of that day was just kind of, slow and quiet. Nothing really happened, right? Well, the next day rolls around, so Tuesday, I come into school and I see something almost immediately that I know is going to be a problem. I see Emily talking to another friend of ours at his locker, and they kind of look like they're flirting a little bit. Like, I see her laughing at one of his jokes, and then she hugs him goodbye, and he has his hands a little bit lower than he probably should. Like, they look like they're kind of, hitting it off. And she sees me as I walk by, and she, like, runs up to me after saying goodbye to him, and she's like, hey, Austin. I was like, what's up, Emily? She's like, so, talked to Jeremiah recently? And I was like, nah, not since yesterday. I was like, what about you? And she's like, nope, I haven't either. And honestly, I'm over him. Like, if he's not going to trust 2 people that he's known for over a year, especially his own girlfriend, I'm done with it. And I was like, yeah, I mean, fair enough. That's totally fair. And she's like, yeah, I'm already talking to somebody else. And I was like, is it Jason? Because that was the dude that she was just hugging up on. And she's like, yep, it's him. And I was like, all right. I mean, hey, you're your own person. Do what you want to do. You can make your own choices. I will say, though, even though Jeremiah's not cool with us anymore, I recommend not rubbing your new, friend or relationship, whatever you want to call it, in his face. Like, even though you're probably mad at him and you want to get revenge or whatever, like, maybe keep it a little bit separate for a while, because he's going to be really, really upset if he sees you with that guy. And she's like, yeah, maybe. And she walks away. And now I'm just standing there like, dude, what the hell? Like, this girl, Emily, I knew she didn't even like this Jason guy, the new one she was talking to. She was just solely trying to get revenge at Jeremiah because she was still in love with him and she felt betrayed. And that is not the way you handle that. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've thought to myself, like, oh, I got dumped, or oh, I broke up with this girl and I'm sad about it. Let me go try and find somebody else immediately. And how it never works. Like, that's just not the key. So, yeah, when I saw her doing this, I was like, this is going to be a shit show. I can just tell. And sure enough, later on that day, it became a shit show. So at lunchtime on that Tuesday, I'm at my table with my friends. Jeremiah's at his table with his friends. Emily's at this table with this new guy, Jason. And Jeremiah sees that she's at that new table, sitting with that Jason guy. And they look like they're flirting, right? And Jeremiah gets up, walks over to her table, and starts like screaming at her. He's like, I can't fucking believe you, like a year together, a fucking year, and it takes you not even 2 days to go off and date somebody else. I can't fucking believe this shit. And he's yelling, right? And one of the people in the lunchroom, like one of the lunchroom monitors, sees this, and she like walks over and like gets him to move and go away because she doesn't want him yelling at her. And then after he leaves her table and starts going back to his, he randomly like turns around, does a 180, and starts beelining it to my table, staring at me with like a death stare. And he comes up to my table, puts his finger in my face, and he goes, this is fucking all your fault, dude. If you weren't talking shit and running your mouth about our relationship, we'd still be together, she wouldn't be with that fucking idiot, and we could still be homies. But nah, you gotta fuck everything up. And I'm just sitting there in my head like, yo, I didn't do shit. So I spoke up. I stood up for myself. I was like, dude, I didn't do a fucking thing. Stop accusing me of shit that didn't happen. For the last fucking time, I did not talk about your relationship. I have nothing to do with your relationship. I'm not the one that told you to break up with Emily, and I'm not the one that told Emily to go moving on super fast. She did that on her own. In fact, I told her not to rub it in your face because you might get upset. And look what's happening. Dude, all I've been is a good friend to you. Don't fucking drag me into this shit anymore. I'm done. And he gets real mad. He starts getting in my face. He tells me to stand up like he wants to fight. And I'm just ignoring him. I'm not doing it. And a couple of the lunch monitors see this. One of the security guards saw it as well. They all come over. They get him away from me. And they break it up. And I thought that'd be the end of it. I thought that was like the climax of the whole situation. I thought we just wouldn't be friends anymore. And him and Emily would stay broken up. And that'd be the end of it. Well, no. 2 periods later, literally, just like a couple hours later, right? I'm in class, study hall to be specific. And I'm just sitting in the back of the room, just working on some homework. And all of a sudden, an announcement comes overhead. It says, Austin at the principal's office. And I stand up, I gather my things, and I start leaving the classroom to go to the principal's office. And as I'm walking out, one of my friends was like, yo, what'd you do? And I was like, I don't know, man. It's probably about what happened at lunch. So I walked out of the room, I started heading up to the main office, and I'm thinking in my head, like, I wonder what I did. And, the majority of my brain was telling me, like, bro, relax, don't worry about it. This is obviously just going to be about what happened at lunch. They're going to ask why, me and Jeremiah were beefing. It's going to be fine, right? So I go up to the main office. I walk into the main office. My principal's sitting there waiting for me. We had just gotten a new principal. I hadn't met her yet, so this was my first time meeting her. And I sit down across from her, and she goes, hi, Austin. And I was like, hey. And she's like, I'm Principal Blank. She says her last name. And I was like, nice to meet you. She goes, nice to meet you too. Do you know why I called you up here? I was like, I'm assuming it has something to do with what happened at lunch. And she goes, no, what happened at lunch? I was like, oh, just old friend of mine. We got in a little bit of a verbal argument. Nothing really happened. Security kind of broke us up before anything could happen, but it was a little bit of a disagreement. And she was like, oh, okay, well, no, that's not why you're up here. I was like, oh, okay, why am I up here? And she goes, we found this in your locker. And she looks up and she waves her hand at the door. And the school cop comes in holding a bag of weed that does not belong to me. It's maybe a dub or something, like $20 worth of weed, right? And he brings it in and he sets it on the desk. And she goes, is that yours? And I was like, what? No. Where'd you find that? And she's like, in your locker. I'm like, no, you didn't. I don't have weed in my locker. And I honestly thought they had the wrong locker. So I asked her, I'm like, what locker did you find that in? What was the number? She's like, 328. That's yours. I'm like, yeah, that's my locker, but I didn't have weed in it. Someone put that there. And she starts laughing because she thinks I'm lying, right? And so does the cop. And I'm like, no, that's bullshit. Check the cameras. Because I remember back in the day, something similar had happened. Someone put some shit in my locker to mess with me. And I was able to have them check the cameras and clear my name with my old principal. So I was like, check the cameras. I'm serious. Check them. And my principal's like, first things first, watch your language. Don't swear in here. Second of all, I'll work on getting the cameras checked, but in the meantime, we're treating this like it's yours. I was like, what is that supposed to mean? And she's like, we already called your parents. They're coming down. We're going to talk to them about what we found. And then it hits me. I'm like, wait a minute. How would you even know that that was in my locker to begin with, if it was in there? Did you have a random dog search? Because I know sometimes my school would do that. They would bring dogs in randomly and sniff around. But when they would do that, they'd put the school on lockdown. And there was no lockdowns that day. So I had a feeling that wasn't it. And I was right. because my principal was like, no, it wasn't a dog search. We had an anonymous tip saying that it smelled like weed by your locker, and we're keeping their name anonymous, but yeah, we got a tip. And then it hits me. I'm like, wait a minute. Anonymous tip, weed in my locker that doesn't belong to me. I wonder who could have tipped them. So I say it. I'm like, can I ask you a question? Did the anonymous tip happen to come from Jeremiah? And her face immediately changes, and I could tell she's lying. She's like, no. And I was like, okay, well, I'm telling you right now, check the cameras, because I guarantee Jeremiah had something to do with this. And she goes, like I said, we'll work on getting the footage, but in the meantime, we have to treat it like it's yours, and we're calling your parents in. And I was like, all right, fine. So my parents came in, and just like the principal and the school cop, they did not believe me at all. No matter how many times I told them both, I didn't do this, I didn't have that in my locker, they didn't believe me. And finally, after 45 minutes of me begging for them to check the cameras, finally, a security guard comes in and hooks up this disc in the DVD player, and he starts playing it, and it's the footage from that security camera right near my locker that points at it for the whole day, right? And he starts fast forwarding through the entire day, right? And so far, most of the day looks normal. It's just me getting stuff out of there and putting stuff back in. But after lunch, literally a minute after lunch, something else shows on the camera. And I'm like, wait, go back, play that. And he goes back and he plays it. And sure enough, a minute after lunch, Mr. Jeremiah walks up to my locker, slams on it really hard with his knee and pops it open, because at my school we had these really fucked up lockers that had broken locks. So if you hit them hard enough, they would open. So yeah, Jeremiah kneed my locker open super hard, got it open, and then put a little bag in there. And based on the camera footage, it was the same color bag as the bag that had the weed in it. So I was like, wow, look at that. It wasn't mine. And she goes, okay, let me call him up here right now. This is insane. So she calls up Jeremiah. He comes up to the main office, and immediately the principal starts questioning him. She's like, Jeremiah, what is this? Explain this. And she plays the footage. And Jeremiah was completely caught red-handed, so he didn't try and lie. He was like, yep, sorry, it was me. I put that in his locker. Sorry, I won't do it again. Just gave this really, really, non-apology, right? And the principal goes, you do realize we're going to have to suspend you, right? You can't bring drugs to school. You cannot do what you did today. This is beyond unacceptable. He goes, fine, I don't want to be in this fucking school anyway. And she granted his wish. She literally gave him 2 weeks out of school suspension and then 2 weeks at a different school at this program. It was kind of like a program meant for kids that were misbehaving. So he had essentially a whole month away from our school. And yeah, he never apologized to me, never texted me saying, yo, my bad, dude, I was in the wrong. He just straight up never talked to me again. To this day, I have yet to have another conversation with Jeremiah. He came back to school a month later, and he just treated me like I didn't exist. Even in the main office, my principal tried to get him to say sorry to me, and he just stared at me, never said sorry. He wouldn't do it. So yeah, that was the last interaction I ever really had with him. When he came back to school, yeah, he just didn't treat me like I existed. He didn't treat Emily like she existed. He just completely ignored both of us, just got new friends. Her and that Jason dude, Emily and Jason, they stopped talking, by the way, and she tried to reach back out to Jeremiah to rekindle the relationship, and he just blocked her. And yeah, dude, he wanted nothing to do with me or her. Now, I'm not gonna lie, if I saw my ex, dating somebody else or flirting with somebody else a day or two after we broke up, I wouldn't want to talk to her anymore either. But the whole premise of how this started is what's ridiculous to me. This whole thing started on a rumor. Oh, and I never found out who spread the rumor, by the way. I still don't know to this day who the kid was at school that told Jeremiah that I was talking shit about his relationship to Emily. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I lost a friend. Up until the day I dropped out, he didn't talk to me anymore. We didn't talk. And Emily and him had stayed broken up. They never got back together. So yeah, that is how a rumor completely ruined my friendship, and how my homie, Jeremiah, backstabbed the fuck out of me, dude. Planted weed in my locker to try and get me suspended, all because of a rumor that he heard through somebody else that wasn't true. So guys, there's a moral to this story. There's probably a few, honestly. Number one, don't always believe rumors. If you hear something, go to the source and get the facts. Number two, don't plant weed in somebody's locker if you're upset with them. That's not good. Never do that. That's a big no-no. And I guess moral number three, a good way to get over a relationship is not to just jump into another one immediately, so don't do that either. Yeah, there's definitely a few things in this story to be learned, but the main ones being, don't plant drugs in people's lockers, and do not always believe rumors. Yeah. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this story time. Definitely a pretty crazy one. If you did, please leave a like on the video. I would really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below. and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys later. Peace.